The fire tower wasn't even supposed to be used that late in the season. That's the part that still bothers me. It was in Montana, mid-September. The end of fire season, technically, but not officially. The Forest Service wanted extra eyes on a section of remote land near Flattop Basin after someone reported smoke 20 miles out. I'd worked seasonal logistics before, trail crew maintenance, so I knew enough to say yes when they needed a spot filled fast. 4 nights, simple weather reports, shortwave check-ins, that was it. The tower had just been restored too, solar added, manual stove replaced. It was routine, low-key duty. The guy who'd manned it earlier that summer left everything in order, including logbooks, spare batteries, and first aid. I drove most of the way up, hiked the last several miles, and reached the tower around 5 p.m. on the first day. Complete stillness. Pines stretching out forever. I don't know if you've ever stayed in one of those towers, but they're more cramped than they look. One main room with a cot, stove, folding chair, and desk. Wraparound windows, some still with storm shutters. You can see absolutely everything, and no one can see you. That first night, nothing happened. I wrote in the log, checked the barometer, ate an MRE, and set my alarm for sunrise. The wind tapped at the glass off and on, but it never got uncomfortable. It was bone quiet. Honestly, it felt kind of perfect. Second day, there was a light haze to the west. Logged it. Normal afternoon came and went. Everything was operational, no reason to worry. But that night, something changed. It started with a noise from under the desk. Just a soft, quick tap. Then again, I got up and checked. The desk drawer had slipped partially open. No big deal. I chalked it up to wind shaking the tower. Except there wasn't any wind at that moment. 0, dead calm. Didn't think much of it. Closed it gently. But then I noticed a wrapper crumpled next to the trash bin. A protein bar, not mine. I figured maybe the other guy forgot it. Happens. But the wrapper was torn in a really particular way, cut neatly at the top with scissors. I hadn't seen scissors in the tower. Just a box knife. I checked the trash. Clean liner. No other wrappers like it. Something felt weird about that. Later, around 11 p.m., I went to grab a fresh pen from the drawer and saw the station log sitting partly open underneath a folder I hadn't touched. Flipped to a fresh page. Someone had already filled it in. The date was today. My entry was there, word for word, but I hadn't written anything yet. It described the haze to the west, the clear eastern range, the wind speed. Every detail I'd have logged, down to my initial. But I hadn't opened the log since morning. I sat still and stared at it for a long time. My first instinct. Maybe I'd entered it earlier and forgotten. Stress. Fatigue. I've had shifts blur before, but the pen strokes were different. Cleaner. More compact lettering. It didn't look like mine. And the weirdest thing, the ink wasn't from the pen I'd been using. I don't remember falling asleep that night. Just remember waking every hour to check the corners of the room without getting up. I turned the light on and left it on. The next morning, the kettle was already warm when I went to heat water. Not hot, just not cold. And the cot in the corner had fresh creases that hadn't been there the day before. I hadn't touched it. I'd slept on the floor mat closer to the stove. That's when I told myself someone else is here. Or was. I did a walk of the upper deck. There was no sign of forced entry. No extra gear stashed outside. Food stocked checked out. Nothing missing. It was like whoever it was came and went or had never fully left. I didn't have cell reception, but the radio was still working. I logged the basic weather update, but didn't mention anything strange. I didn't want it on record yet. I figured I'd call it in the next morning once I hiked down past the first ridge and got signal. Still, I kept checking the ladder, listening for sounds on the porch. Even small ones, boots on wood, pack buckle clacking. But I heard nothing. Then around 7:30 p.m., just before full dark, I noticed something out the west, facing window. Just movement under the tree line, far off 300 yards maybe. Low sun made it hard to tell. Could have been a deer, could have been anything. But I swear it paused, looked up. No binoculars on me. I watched it for a minute. Then it disappeared back into the woods. 15 minutes later, the tower light flickered for the first time. It's LED now. solar with battery, but it drew weird shadows for about a second, like a surge. The bulb didn't die, just stuttered. I noted the time, turned it off manually, then back on. No further issue. Until around midnight, that's when I heard the step. Not a bird, not wind, a step, on the platform. It was a single, soft press of weight on the wood outside, clear as day above the snow. The outer bolts make a distinct creak when someone is walking around. I sat up in the blanket, heart hammering. I didn't move right away, waited. Then another step, closer to the ladder hatch. There's no way up there without hearing it. Then silence. I flicked the overhead light off, turned my flashlight to dim red, let my eyes adjust. I knelt by the door and peered through the corner slit. Nothing on the deck. Nothing by the hatch. I opened the trapdoor and shined the red light down. No one on the ladder, no one below, just black trees and soft wind. I closed it, latched it, stepped back. Then realized the logbook was open again, this time to tomorrow's entry. Forecast, fog moving in from north. Visitor activity, none. Author initials, not mine. At sunrise, I packed. Marked the tower as inactive. Left everything the way I'd found it. On my way down trail, I stopped near the tree line and looked back up. The tower was just a shape against the sky. When I got to the service road, I found tire tracks. They were fresh, but not from my vehicle. And on the soft dirt leading up to the base ladder, there were boot prints, two sets, side by side, not leading to the tower, just around it, circles. I never saw who it was, never heard another step, but whoever else was up there, they knew the job. They knew how long I'd be there, and they wanted their lookout back. I spent the summer of 2018 working a fire lookout tower in the Sierra Nevada foothills. The job was basically what you'd expect: long days of watching sky and trees, logging weather conditions, and reporting smoke as early as possible. The tower itself was nice enough. Simple structure, 50-foot A-frame with a windowed top room and a wraparound catwalk. It was volunteer through a forest stewardship program. Most people did a week or two. I signed up for 6 straight because, at the time, I thought being completely off-grid would somehow reset my brain. No service, no drama, no social media, just quiet. And it really was. At first, each morning, I'd log my reports, then take a short hike down the slope to a spot marked on the map as a survey reference point. They'd built a stone marker there back in the 60s where the slope plateaued, about 300 yards downhill from the tower. I liked walking to it in the mornings to stretch out and drink coffee before the heat came in. Tower posts creak at night. My legs always felt stiff. From the edge of the marker site, you could see in all directions. Just endless tree lines, some scrub brush further out, a narrow fire break that curved around to the east. There weren't any fenced trails down that far, just ranger routes and fire access cuts. On day 4, I saw someone standing near the marker. I was still in the tower when I spotted him, early morning, maybe 16:30. At first I thought it was my shadow or a trick of the fog, but as the sun rose, I could clearly make out the outline of a person. He wasn't moving much, just standing, arms down, shoulders a little rounded like he was cold. It didn't seem threatening. I figured maybe it was a hiker who had gotten turned around overnight, or a volunteer doing their own walk. I got dressed, grabbed my gear, and called out from the catwalk just in case he could hear me. No answer. By the time I got down the ladder and hiked to the marker, he was gone. No footprints, no voices, no tire tracks, just wind and trees. I waited a while and walked the ridge trail a bit. Nothing. Eventually, I let it go and got back to work, logged the usual weather, noted nothing unusual. But the guy showed up again. Day 6, same time, same place. Again I saw him from the tower. This time I tried radioing the main post. Asked if anyone had sent out tech support or biologists for a transect. No one had been logged in that zone for over a week. They told me to keep an eye on it, but didn't sound like anything to worry about. It was probably just a hiker, but the figure came back the next 2 days. Only in the morning, only near the marker. Never closer than 300 yards. He always disappeared before I could reach him. On day 9, I got bold and brought a camera, cropped zoom lens. I figured if I could get even a silhouette, I could prove he was real. That morning he returned, right on time. But when I lifted the camera and focused on him, he moved. Not toward me. Not away. He shifted behind the tree. Like he didn't want to be seen. I'm telling you, the way he moved, it was tight. Intentional. Not startled. Deliberate. Like he'd been watching me watching him. I hiked down again. This time faster, shaking from adrenaline, not just nerves. But again the clearing was empty. Still no footprints. Which didn't make sense because the soil down there was dry and loose. My tracks from earlier lingered easily. Anyone walking should have left something. I walked in slow circles, scanning the trees. That's when I saw the rock pile. Just off to the side of the marker, a small stack of stones that hadn't been there before. Hiker trail signal maybe, but built intentionally. Balanced, like cans. Something about it felt off, symmetrical. I kicked it over. I don't know why, I just did. Right after, on instinct, I turned around. At the edge of the tree line, maybe 20 feet back, there was movement. Dark shape, low, moving parallel through the brush, fast. I raised my camera, but it was gone. Silence swallowed everything again. I walked, did not run, back up the hill. Sun over my shoulders, no sound behind me. Back in the tower, I locked the hatch under the platform for the first time that trip. Didn't sleep much. That night, fog rolled in, dense as insulation. It covered everything below the tower, just a dome of white. I couldn't see the marker, couldn't see anything past the railing. But I heard something. At 2:15 a.m., a soft tap on the wooden frame beneath the deck, then another. Too low to be branches, too controlled to be an animal. I slipped out of the cot and crouched by the trap door. It creaked ever so slightly. I didn't open it, just listened. What I heard next I still can't explain. The same tapping sound but moving in a circle, around the tower, footsteps, one at a time, pausing, starting again, careful circling, then stopping. I waited in silence until sunrise, barely breathed. When light finally returned and the fog cleared, I found a pile of stones at the base of the ladder, small, stacked. Same shape as the one I'd knocked down earlier. I called it in, said I had a potential trespasser on site and requested backup for a welfare check. They told me no one could get up there likely before nightfall due to road closures from runoff, but to stay put and alert down. So I waited. At first I stayed inside, but by 10 a.m. the curiosity got the better of me. I climbed down, knife drawn, just in case, and stepped into the clearing. The pile was still there, untouched. But there was something else carved into the stone marker. Not deep, not obvious, but I could make it out in the right light. 3 vertical scratches, and next to it a circle. I left it alone. Didn't erase it, didn't report it, didn't touch the new can. That night, I turned off all my lights, sat in the corner with my back to the wall. Outside, the fog rolled in again. I didn't sleep. No footsteps, no tapping, but I knew he was still there. After I was pulled off that assignment, I didn't volunteer the next season, but sometimes I checked the Forest Service camera logs online. That tower is still active, and every few months someone marks Flat Ridge Visual May in AER marker, early fog. Same report, word for word, like someone else is watching him now, just like I was. I was a fire lookout trainee in Oregon the summer I turned 23. It was part of a backcountry wildlife internship. Technically, 3 weeks in a remote dispatch tower, taking weather readings, learning radio protocol, and building observation habits. They paired me with an older guy named Jack, retired forester, who'd worked the towers back in the 90s when they were still the main detection method. Tough, honest guy, barely spoke at all unless we were doing a system check or making tea. The lookout itself was pretty new, still all analog, but a clean steel frame cabin set on a 40-foot tower with panoramic forestry view. For the record, we had no cell reception, no vehicles beyond the drop point, and only a basic solar panel for charging the radios and headlamps. Standard comms were through a rack-mounted shortwave radio with 7 broadcast channels. Each one was color-coded with laminated tape. There was one red channel, channel 6, red stripe over a worn power switch, right on the side panel. From day one, Jack told me, that one doesn't do anything. Never turn it on. It hasn't been connected to anything in years. I assumed he meant it wasn't wired, but either way, I didn't touch it. Not seriously. The first week was normal, slow, long days of reading the sky, logging temperature swings, watching treetops bend in the wind. I learned to love the silence up there, learned how loud silence can become in a place like that. Jack slept a lot. In the early evenings, he'd retreat down the trapdoor and crash in the bunk underneath. I stayed up top keeping watch until lights out. That's when I noticed something odd about the radio. It would click sometimes, just a quiet tick, like someone tapped a button softly, just once, near the back circuits. I never saw it move, never saw any indicator lights flash. I even asked Jack casually if one of the relays had a short. He said no, probably just battery shift. Don't worry about it. Just keep your power loop off unless you're checking in. But then on the 8th night, something changed. I was alone in the top room. Jack passed out below, and I heard the red switch click, just once. I glanced at the panel and froze. The red light above channel 6 had turned on, not blinking, just steady dim red glow, nothing else active, no signal from base, no scheduled call. I watched it for maybe 2 minutes, then reached out and toggled the power off. The light stayed on. I grabbed my headlamp, went to the trap door, and walked downstairs to wake Jack. He sat up the moment I touched the floorboard, fully alert, like he hadn't really been asleep at all. Before I could say a thing, he looked past me toward the upstairs panel, like he already knew. He asked one question. "Is the red light on?" I nodded. He stood up slowly, and without looking me in the eye, said, "Then it's already started." We didn't go upstairs again that night. Jack dug into one of the floor drawers and pulled out his old field radio. Said it wasn't connected to the call loops, only the emergency signal band. It still had a battery. He left it on the counter, just in case. I asked him, trying to stay calm, what channel 6 was. He wouldn't answer. Just repeated, "Don't activate it, no matter what it plays." When I asked if it was a prank, part of the training, he gave me a look I wouldn't forget. Not angry, not mocking, just haunted. We stayed below until sunrise. The next day, everything was normal again. Light off, no activity. Channel switch cold to the touch. Jack told me we wouldn't report it, and if I wanted to hike down early, he'd cover the rest of my rotation. But I was stubborn. I told him I wanted to finish the week. Said to suit myself. Night 10. Headlamps off, lantern dimmed. Cool breeze outside. I sat alone by the radio looking out at the ridge when I felt the clicks start again. This time I didn't look right away. But I heard it, static, faint, low, just under the noise floor. Then the red light started blinking. Not steady this time. Slow, irregular pulses, no call signs, no voice, just a garbled hiss, something like shuffling. I don't know what made me do it. Maybe curiosity, maybe habit. But I leaned forward, and that's when I heard something behind the static, breathing, shallow, uneven. Right against the mic, someone was on the line. But they weren't saying anything, just breathing. I stared at the mic for maybe 20 seconds, 30, then it said my name. Once low, but clear. It wasn't Jack, and it wasn't me. I didn't scream, didn't run. I stood up slowly, switched off the main panel, power down, everything. Hard shut off. The red light stayed on. I tore the power loop out. It sparked. Panel finally died, but long after the light faded, I could still hear the breathing. No speaker connected, no transmission, but I could hear it anyway, in the walls or in my head, I don't know. Then it stopped, all at once. I told Jack the next morning I was done. No shame in it, right? He nodded like he expected it. Told me there's always one last call. Before the line goes dark, he walked me to the remote trail and clapped my shoulder. Told me to forget about it. Most people do. I didn't ask what he meant. Months later, I drove through that part of Oregon again, curious if I could find the tower. Found the trailhead. But the trail closure sign was up, new paint, new chain. Said, "Arrestarate mutar lay rapire." Under it, a tag hanging from a bolt, Siege 6. That red laminated sticker. Just like the tape on the switch. I've told people parts of this story. They always laugh nervously and say, maybe it was a prank. Or, Could have been a joke channel looping. I let them believe that. But I still dream about it. The way the light blinked like it was breathing, and the way that voice, my voice, said my own name like it was warning me to leave, before someone else answered.